A portion of this video is sponsored by DoorDash.
We build a lot of cars around here, and they're all broken.
No, that's an axle.
That's an axle.
That was an axle.
Sometimes working on cars means things don't go to plan. There are all kinds of unexpected problems, and it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Are you kidding me?
Today, we're going to look at everything wrong with our cars, explain why they're broken and what it'll take to fix them, and hopefully inspire you to not worry if you run into similar hurdles yourself. So, let's see how messed up our cars are. Let's start with the good old Miata. As you may remember, we built this car to be a fun car that you could take to the track but still drive daily. And for the most part, this thing is in good shape and it runs pretty well, but there are a few little issues that still continue to plague it. First, one of the most annoying ongoing issues is with the gauge cluster. We replaced the analog gauges with a screen to have a digital dash, which in theory is pretty cool, but the thing just has never worked very smoothly and currently doesn't do anything. Fixed it a few times, but it always seems to just kind of revert to not working, which is very annoying, especially when you just want to know how fast you're going or how much gas you have. I am tempted to just try to put the stock gauges back in, to be totally honest with you. The next problem that this thing has is also computer related, but a different computer. It's the ECU. You may remember that we replaced the factory ECU with a Mega Squirt unit. That gave us total control over the engine and let us turbocharge this thing and make the power that we're making. Honestly, it's a great bit of kit and I love it, but there is one issue that we're having with it, and that's just sort of in drivability. Like when you're on the highway and you just need to tip into the throttle a little bit to keep up speed, it has a hard time understanding what to do when you crack the throttle, so it bucks a little bit under those conditions. The Mega Squirt controls a little bit differently than most ECUs, and we just really haven't found a dyno tuner that understands it well enough to be able to make it drive super smoothly. And the last thing that's wrong with the Miata is pretty simple. The driver's door speaker is cut out. So there's probably just a loose wire in there somewhere. We did replace them at some point. So, you know, maybe I didn't connect something quite well enough and it came loose. So just got to get in there and probably reconnect it. So the Miata clearly has some annoying issues, but at the end of the day, it's nothing that can't be fixed, and it's nothing compared to some of our other project cars. Now let's go look at another sore spot for me, my S14.
Thank you to DoorDash for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, a lot of you watching already know Jimmy. So to help Jimmy make some extra cash for his new project, I decided to sign him up for DoorDash. Jimmy, are you ready to make some deliveries?
Yeah, but I have just one request. When you become a Dasher, you become your own boss. No uniform, no shift schedule. You get to choose the days and hours you want to work, even the deliveries you want to accept. Hey! And with perks like cash back on gas and the ability to cash out instantly, it's a great way to put extra money in your pocket for that project car sitting in your garage. So what are you waiting for? Put some extra cash in your pocket today and click the link below
or download the DoorDash Dasher app today to sign up.
Thanks to DoorDash for sponsoring that portion of this video.
Okay, and here we've got my S14. You may remember that, it's been on the channel a few times. It had an RB25 in it, which spun a bearing. We did a video taking that apart and figuring out what was wrong with it. It's kind of just been sitting ever since. So there's really two main issues here. This pile of spaghetti that I have in the driver's footwell. I started moving the fuse box that's under the hood to the trunk just to clear up some space under the hood and to get these wires out of the channel that they took to get to the engine bay. Got about halfway through it. You know, just have a pile of wires now. I just gotta pick up where I left off and finish putting the fuse box into the trunk. But then we've got one other main issue, and that is at the front of the car. We ain't got no engine, or really anything. So, where there once was an RB25, there now is nothing, so something needs to go in there. I do have a pretty fresh RB25 sitting in that garage over there, waiting, ready to go in here. So I think in terms of how long it would take me to fix this, this would be a little bit more time consuming than most things, probably a few weeks. Up next, high and low WRX, and Nolan. What's going on, man?
What's up? Oh, you know, just hanging out outside.
Like you do?
Like I do.
Nice. What's wrong with low car?
There's a couple things, actually. New tires. We shredded the absolute crap out of the Sestino Gredge tires that were on here.
That'll happen.
They were mounted on our XXR wheels that were the wrong offset, so we had some issues with that. We're gonna get some new tires, and I think it's time to replace the max heating rod coilovers that were on here. $300. I'm pretty sure one of them's blown out pretty good. Also, my back was almost like destroyed from driving these things over like 1,000 miles in a couple days on such stiff suspension. So I would like something with a little bit more compliance. But dude, once we get that stuff done, I really want to take this thing out. I want to make it a point this year to go to track days around SoCal, like Buttonwillow, like streets again, because I love driving this thing. It's just awesome.
Well, you got to replace that wing then, huh?
Oh, that's right. The wing also disappeared. I came to work one day, the wing was gone, and I just accepted it. So now maybe,
honestly, not too hard to accept though. Did you ever love that thing?
No, so I think it's time to also get a new wing.
That's not too bad. I mean, it sounds like for the most part, it's not broken.
Not broken.
But as you may recall, we did have some hiccups with the filming of High-Low. Hey, we got sparkly oil again. So what would you say to the people that say that we just don't know what we're doing with Subarus and that we didn't do any of the preventative stuff to stop all of our 7 engines from melting down?
You're right, yeah. So people did say that part of the reason that we blew these engines up is because
they've got some known issues, right?
Yeah, these cars need baffled oil pans if we're gonna do track days.
Yeah.
Guess what? We had the baffled oil pans from the beginning.
That's true.
So we had that base covered. Also, overheating. Wow, it's hot out. You guys should upgrade the cooling systems. We did. We put in some bigger radiators to increase the cooling capacity. We did our due diligence. Sometimes we just don't cover that stuff because it's
kind of
boring or not really pertinent to the topic of the video itself. So that's why we didn't mention those modifications.
Honestly, if I could pinpoint one thing, I think when we were doing the lateral grip test, the big 200-foot circle.
Big circle.
We also filmed an ad while we were doing that. So we were doing those huge
takes.
lateral grip circles for a lot of time. And that is a lot of oil slosh, even for a baffled oil pan. We also did it repeatedly. We did it several times.
Yes.
So I think that, if any single thing, was the most problematic for our engines.
All right, Job, I've talked about low car. What about high car?
I mean, as you may recall, we blew 3rd gear at Sonoma.
It's gone.
Are you kidding me?
Got it replaced that day, and it's been fine ever since. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to blow another 3rd gear in the future. We're still making the same amount of power through the same but a different transmission. So it may happen again. We might want to beef that up a little bit, but the only real thing I have to complain about is the bumper fitment, which just bothers me, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. This bumper is just whooped. But the car runs great and feels great when you drive it. Now, Nolan, you may recall that these aren't the only 2 Subaru WRXs that we had from our most recent high-low. There's also first high car, worst high car, cursed high car. So this was the first iteration of high car from this last high-low. We replaced an engine in this. We did a bunch of mods to this car before James sent it off track at Willow Springs. And we also used this car as the parts bin for the rest of high-low.
That's right.
So anytime that we broke something on either car, it was like, oh man, now we gotta order. Oh, wait a minute. There's a whole nother car in the parking lot. I'll just go pull it off that. So it's also missing all sorts of little odds and ends.
Weird stuff. So, honestly, we'd probably just be better off scrapping it or selling it cheap, but...
Maybe turn it into wall art, you know?
All right, Job, what's next?
Trucks. Hey,
all right, these are our high-low Tacomas. Same thing as the WRXs. We built them to be affordable overlanders that you can daily drive. This is low truck here, built with cheap parts, and that's high truck with very expensive parts like the bumper that you're sitting on.
Yeah, this bumper was super expensive. It's also super heavy.
Yes.
We added a lot of steel to the truck, which ultimately made it very heavy for what was already a pretty slow truck. This thing just needs to shed some weight. I think I might change the front and rear bumpers for something a little bit lighter and maybe slim down the bed rack situation a little bit. Just get this thing a little more light on its feet.
If I could change anything about myself, I would also be shedding my front bumper a little bit.
If only it were that easy. If you could change anything to low truck, what would you do?
Ooh. I would add an LED light in a very critical place. When we wired up the locking differential on this truck in the rear, we used an aftermarket wiring harness. It does have a light on the switch to tell you when it's engaged or on, but we kind of rushed through the wiring, kind of a common theme here on high-low, and we never wired up the light. So it's hard to tell when the locking differential is engaged.
We were on trail at some point, and I think you locked it to get through something, and it locked.
It's hard to tell.
Well, it's off.
It's locked, Nolan, I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
But then you left it on, probably because you didn't have a light to tell you that it was on.
Did it get burned out or something?
Yeah.
That's a big problem. That was not a fast job.
Yeah. I wonder if it's easily fixable. I honestly don't think so. I think the clutch packs in there are burnt out.
Yeah, that's very likely. The radios in both these trucks are broken, which I guess is a pretty common issue in this generation of Tacoma, but otherwise, you could take these things out this weekend, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these lived up to their reliability reputation for sure, and I'd say these trucks took me to some of the most beautiful places of this country I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Up next, the E36. This is another money pit car. We built this to be a fun rally car. This thing was pretty tall for off-road duties, but since then we've kind of done a little bit of repurposing. We lowered the car and welded the rear diff, and we've been drifting it around a little bit. Now, as far as what's wrong with this car, you can see the window is a little bit off track. That'll happen. Tried to teach some of my coworkers how to do donuts and how to do some sliding around last time we were at Apple Valley, and old Justin got a little overzealous. I forget what he hit. I think it was just a cone, but it hit it pretty good. So that's broken. After fixing a blown coolant hose and replacing all the coolant, we overheated a little bit, which tells me that there's probably still some air in the system. So that just needs to be bled. But otherwise, this car has put up with some abuse and keeps taking it. I love this thing. Up next, we've got the Cabrio. This is basically just a test mule that we do all sorts of stupid stuff to.
I feel like since we messed with it so much, I'm like a little less sure that it'll be reliable.
Yeah, less
also, it has
trusting.
this hose coming out of it like that.
It does. Yeah, it's got a lot of haphazardly installed items.
Yeah.
A lot of quick tests.
I don't feel safe to drive it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
This is not one of my favorite cars in our fleet. Let's move on to some of my faves.
Okay.
Here she is.
Yep.
Rosie, dude, tell me about it.
The original low car. This is the first low car that we built on Donut. It's gone through many iterations, and now it's a 5.3 liter LS swapped drift car with the big old intake coming out of the nose. It looks very ugly. It's thrown together. It might look weird, but like underneath,
It's got good bones.
it's got great bones. It just looks ugly. Kind of like your mom. Aesthetics aside, we do have some mechanical, electrical issues. The wiring harness that we chose to use didn't have a tail for the tachometer. So there's no tachometer. You don't know the RPMs. You just kind of press the gas until it hits the limiter there. Yeah. It's pretty fun. Yeah. Also in the center console, we don't have like a shifter boot around the shifter for whatever reason. I tried like 4 different ways of putting the boot on.
No luck?
No luck. Now
Do you get tire smoke up through there?
Yeah, it's smoke, dirt, bunch of heat comes through there. It's probably the car at Donut that I think is closest to like hot rod in nature. You know, you fire it up, the car kind of rattles. It reminds me of like the cars I grew up around at Famoso Drag Strip, you know, like just chugging along.
They've kind of been thrown together, but they run and they run like hell.
It's just awesome. And you know, out of all the cars here, if there was a fire and I can only save one, I think it would be this one.
Parked right on your heart, huh?
It really is, yeah.
All right, well, let's go look at the one that's parked on my heart. This is my favorite car at Donut. This is High Z, the original High car, and this car is so cool. It's got so much cool stuff in it. Namely, this CT525 Chevy engine is a crate engine, makes like 533 horsepower, and it's sick.
Does it run?
Yes, but not perfectly. First off, this is a crate engine from Chevy, and it came with an ECU that we were going to use. And that ECU was not user-friendly with the wiring harness that we had, so we had to get a different ECU. Then we took that to the dyno, and they couldn't make communication with the crankshaft position sensor, which is something that has plagued us on this car with the old engine.
Pretty critical sensor.
And then there's one other minor thing. I don't know if you remember, but our handbrake was extremely lazy. It took a lot of effort to get it to lock up, and that's really not what you want.
Both your hands.
Yeah, so that's really not what you're after. And then once those minor things are done, the car is in tip-top shape and ready to hit the track.
Wait, isn't there an issue with your transmission?
Is there? Oh yeah, I did forget about that. You've got a point. Our transmission was mysteriously leaking more transmission fluid than you would want it to.
Well, it was a brand new transmission. You don't want that to leak at all.
Yeah.
You don't want any transmission to leak ever.
Yes, exactly.
Ah!
I agree. So we got to figure that out. Maybe we hit a seal while we're installing the drive shaft or something, but that was strange, and I totally forgot about it until right this moment. So cool, add that to the list.
Welcome.
Thanks. Well, Nolan, if we've learned anything today, it's that cars are truly pain.
Yes, they are. You know, the nature of what we do is that we build these cars and then we move on to the next.
Fresh content coming.
Yeah, so you know, a new car comes in, that means we kind of ignore the problems of the old car and then we stack up a bunch of problem cars like we just showed. But looking at these, I'm like motivated because I want to have fun with them. That's the reason we built these.
So it looks like we got to get our knuckles a little greasy and fix some stuff. So why don't you guys let us know what you want to see us fix first in the comments, and maybe we'll do it. So thanks for watching this video and everything else on Donut. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.